I mean, there's only been one hurricane in recorded history in the Atlantic that has been stronger. 1980, it was Allen, and it was only 5 miles per hour stronger. If we continue to see this eye wall around Irma strengthen with convective activity, if it surrounds that eye, we'll easily probably max out where Allen was. But we've got big concerns here. I mean, this is a buzzsaw heading toward the northern islands of the Lesser Antilles. And this is going to really decimate some of the islands. Not just some of the more fortified buildings, but across many islands, the loss of electricity, power, communications, maybe water. We've got the warning still in effect for Anguilla, St. Kitts, Nevis, Antigua, Barbuda. Then, also in place today with warnings, British and U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Their conditions will start to deteriorate tomorrow. You can see the wind flow. This model, a little different than others, slides it toward the Turks and Caicos, where they're looking at a possible storm surge up to 15, 20, even maybe 25 feet in a few locations, and that includes southeast Bahama Islands. This would be a good time, I think, to show you the radar. This is out of Martinique and Guadeloupe. You can see the eye. This is about 23 miles in diameter. This is going to swallow Barbuda and Anguilla. Most likely, those islands will get inside the eye. Now, the winds are going to be light when that happens, but they've got to put up with the ferocious winds, not just on entry, but on exit. So as we continue to look along, and I want to point out, this is Jose. Jose could be a hurricane soon. I don't think it's going to move in the same direction. A fish storm, let's hope, out in, of course, the open waters. The National Hurricane Forecast has this, and this is staggering, Wolf. A catastrophic hurricane is Category 4 or 5, and it continues as a Category 5 and then 4 closer to the U.S. mainland. It is almost impossible, really, for storms of this magnitude to continue to have this kind of strength for this period of time. It's like taking a top and spinning it on your kitchen table. That vertical centrifugal force can only withstand that for so long before it starts to wobble. That's what this will do. When it wobbles, it goes through a reorganization process. It's called an eye wall replacement cycle. It takes about 10 to 12 hours. We'll probably see that happen 2, maybe 3 times. But because it's in extremely warm water and getting into warmer water, that strength, yep, we can understand that now with the models. They continue to be in extremely good agreement. The environment, there is no dry air, there is no wind to shear it apart. Last month and the month before, we had Saharan dust, so it kept activity low. Sometime on Saturday, we expect to turn to the right, pick the system up to the north. We were hoping for a small window that sooner than later it would get picked up, possibly slide past the Outer Banks into the open Atlantic. That window is pretty much shutting down. We cannot disregard the possibility of that momentum carrying it into the Gulf of Mexico. Let me show you a couple models here. First of all, this is rainfall. This will give you a good idea that that center most likely will stay over open waters. Notice this other little shift here? That's Jose. So we know it's not going to follow the same path and get in the open waters. That's good. But this model shows heavy amounts of rain into Cuba, where we could have easily over 20 inches. We're already looking at isolated maybe 12, 15 amounts. This is the European model, and it takes it into the high terrain of Cuba. The central spine of the mountains, central Cuba toward the east. That can help break the system down. But that water is extremely warm in that 90 miles between Cuba and the U.S. Look where it places it. Now, we're going to watch this and going to kind of compare it to the U.S. model. Woof. The agreement with these two systems really is amazing. But the farther out you go in time, even if you're projecting rainfall in your own neighborhood by next Monday, there's going to be some differences. But there's not much. The American model brings it closer to the Bahamas and the east coast of Florida. If we show both of these models back to back, because one goes to the east coast, one to the west coast, here they are. The U.S. model, the GFS in red, the European, which, by the way, Wolf, last Thursday, the European placed it right here as well. So there's been no difference. Let's take it into time till September 11th. One still on the east coast, landfall near Savannah. The other one, a landfall in southwestern Florida. It's possible it could slide a little bit to the east, a little bit to the west. So again, we've got to continue to monitor this. And when you look at the timeline, there is time to prepare. Evacuations already trying to take place, preparations, getting the aid, getting the resources in place and as needed. But we're going to watch any interaction with the landmass. We're also going to watch any deviation to the track, to the north or to the south. Any way you look at it, Wolf, a Category 4 or 5 next weekend is considered catastrophic. It's stronger than Harvey. The good news is it's moving faster than Harvey, so it won't drop that kind of rainfall. But we all know what happened to Rockport in Texas with those strong winds, and we're looking at this to occur as a Category 5 over the millions that live, of course, in the Caribbean, making their way, of course, to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and the southeastern U.S. This is an unbelievable storm of its magnitude, and the only thing I can think of, Wolf, that in recent history is Super Typhoon Haiyan that devastated the town of Tacloban in the Philippines. Of course, the crew from CNN was there with Anderson Cooper for a week, so we saw the devastation there.